Lord, I have had me a day. Busier than a one-armed paper hanger and a one-legged man in a butt-kicking contest. All at the same time. But I'm here. I'm going to do a show. I hope you're going to enjoy said show. And with that, let's get this party started. Hi, how are you doing out there in internet land? My name is Brian Trippett. I am the Front Porch Conservative. Welcome to the Hump Day session of Chattin on the Porch. Oh my goodness. We are on YouTube, we are on Rumble, we are on Twitter. So please, if you haven't done it yet, please go ahead and give a thumbs up. Yes, I know, we need to get some thumbs up. Also, leave some comments in the comments section on Rumble and YouTube. That would be greatly appreciated. Mr. Algorithm likes it when you do that too. Also, remember to share the link around, and if you are not subscribed to this channel, what the heck is the matter with you? Go ahead and subscribe. And by the way, I love you YouTubers out there, but please do me a favor. Check your YouTube subscription. I'm telling you, YouTube is screwing around with me. Very badly, might I add. It's a good night to be here. It's Wednesday night, August 28th. Can you believe we are almost to September? This is just crazy how much this year is flying by. My goodness. Anyway, again, my name is Brian Trippett. I am the Front Porch Conservative. I am known as the common man with common sense. I am known as the beau in the chapeau. I am sometimes known as many different things. Some of them you can even repeat on the internet. But I am one thing. Above all else, I am your host. We are on Rumble, we are on Twitter, and we are on that quaint little alternative social media platform known as YouTube. So please, subscribe, give a thumbs up, leave a comment, share the link around. Let's try and make this going little concern a going big concern. So good to have you guys here with us tonight. Glad to have you guys. Oh, goodness. Who's in the house so far? Let's start with Rumble. WWG1 says, good afternoon, all. I hope your day is going well. It's going well, but man, I feel like I got put through the ringer. It's like, jeez. In my particular line of work, it's the end of the month, which means we got to cram a whole bunch of stuff. You know, it's like, how do you want to say it? It's like trying to feed people water out of a fire hose. I'm trying to drink and keep up with it. It's just crazy. Zippy says, you sound decaffeinated. You worn out today? My friend, I don't know that I'm decaffeinated, but I definitely feel like someone put me through the ringer. Oh, goodness me. Who else is here? TBA says, TBA's in the house. Good to see you. All right, all my wing nuts are in the same place. And I know you brought a bunch of other wing nuts with you, so we're glad to have you. Who else is here? Over on the YouTube side, give me them facts. And a few I got a meme or two to wash down, and a few funnies as well. Good evening, my dear. Mwah. And Gypsy, mwah, mwah. Love you, ladies. Glad to have y'all here. No doubt others will be arriving shortly. So good to have y'all in the house. I left work at about 6:40 Eastern. Went through a local hot dog stand, grabbed some food, came home, scarfed it, tried to put my links together for the show, and ran about the house doing a couple other three things. And then I sat down in my chair and boom, here we are. Zippy says I did some weeding in the flower bed and the other day, and my thighs are still sore. Well, my weeding basically involves a very good Black & Decker battery power weeder. Now don't get me wrong. Sooner or later, I want to get down on my hands and knees and pull some of that stuff. But if I don't, I am one of these yard work people that I don't believe in making it any harder than it has to be. I've never seen a blade of grass yet that I didn't want to see die or as short as possible. Because let's just be honest about it. I'm getting old. And if I don't have to do anything more than is absolutely necessary, I'm not going to do it. Don't get me wrong. I want a nice looking yard, but I don't want to have to do a whole lot of continual maintenance. If I were in my 20s, I might be getting, good and fancy and all that good stuff. Did you go to the hot dog place with the school bus seating? No WWG1. I did not go to Hillbilly Hot Dog. Now, by the way, since we're dropping names of hot dog places in my area, for those of you outside of West Virginia, if you should ever visit my very beautiful state, or more particularly my neck of the proverbial woods, there are any number of eateries that you have to go to, or else you legitimately cannot say that you have been to my hometown or the county in which my hometown resides. And one of those places is a place on West Virginia Route 2. It's called the Hillbilly Hot Dog. This place has made tacky its own art form. It was started some years ago by a married couple, and he has passed on now. His wife is still running the operation. And every cliche or caricature of hillbilly life that you could ever imagine is at this place. Literally, they have 2 or 3 yellow school buses. I know Kamala Harris wants to go to this joint. They have 2 or 3 school buses where you can sit down and eat a hot dog inside the school bus. And they also have 8-track tapes if you want to listen to music. I mean, I'm not kidding about this. I'm pretty sure they've got a website, but go find Hillbilly Hot Dog on the internet and look at the website. I am not kidding. They have taken tacky to a whole new level of art form, but the food's great. The food is absolutely great. But the atmosphere and the everything else, it is truly, it's unique. So, no, but I did not eat at Hillbilly Hot Dog. If you really want to know, I went to the place with the root beer mug on the roof, WWG1, and I know you know where that is. So anyway, all right, let's get down to business, y'all. As I have digressed enough this evening, by way of announcements, and I think I now know how I want to do this. I was thinking about it at work today, among other things I was doing at work today. We are going to live stream the Kamala Harris, Tim Walz interview on CNN tomorrow night. Now, that interview starts at 9 p.m. Eastern, as I understand it. As a matter of fact, let me just make sure about this real quick before I pop this up on here. Yeah, I am right. 9 p.m. Eastern. The interview is going to start at 9 p.m. Eastern. What I'm going to do is about an hour's worth of abbreviated chatting on the porch leading up to it. So this is going to be kind of a hybrid session of news and then listening in on the interview, because this, to me, is going to be very interesting, and I'll tell you why. I was thinking about this today. Yes, I know that it's going to be pre-recorded. I think that sucks. I think it's terrible. I can be live, but they'll be taped. Yeah, when you know it. They're going to have it taped, but I'm not so sure. And everybody's expecting Dana Bash, who's going to be conducting the interview, by the way. They're expecting Dana Bash to throw her nothing but softballs. I'm not so sure that's going to happen. Now don't get me wrong. Yeah, I know, TBA. I'm going to be live for a pre-recorded interview tomorrow. I know. But you know what? I say let's listen in on this together. Look, probably we're all going to watch this in one form or another. Why don't we just hang out together and watch it? I'm not so sure that Dana Bash is going to give her all and nothing but softball questions. I think she's going to throw her a couple of fastballs across the plate. What I want to see is how Kamala Harris is going to react. Okay? Because there is a great point. Now, and you may be right. You may be absolutely right about this, but I was thinking about this today. And again, I could be dead wrong on this one in my take. All right, but here's kind of what I'm thinking. Look, This is the first sit-down interview that Kamala Harris is doing as the Democrat nominee for president. Dana is not going to want to look like she's in the tank for Kamala. Now, most everybody suspects she is in the tank for Kamala, but I'm sure she doesn't want to look like it. Much like the debate with Biden and Trump back on June 27th, again, I'm not saying every question is going to be, a high hard one, so to speak, if I may use the baseball analogy. I don't think everything she throws at Kamala is going to be a softball. I think she's going to throw a few. She's going to throw a few hard and fast ones across the plate. And again, I could be dead wrong about this, but I've got a feeling. We'll see. We will see. TBA says Harris will have her emotional support Veep with her to answer the questions. I'm still trying to figure that one out. Why do you need Tim Walz here for this? Now, I know what Christian Watson said last night, or he was giving someone else's take. And I'm not saying Christian was necessarily wrong. Okay. And I'm not saying I necessarily disagree with him either. But why do you need him for this? She's the one running for president. My God, Donald Trump is out there talking to everybody. It's insane. I mean, you know what? I wasn't going to talk about this yet, but I've got I got this today. Oh, where is it? Come on. Yeah, here it is. Apparently, in the very near future, Donald Trump is going on Lex Fridman's podcast. Friedman has over 4 million subscribers on YouTube with an audience who's interested in the nature of intelligence, consciousness, love, and power. Recent guests have been Elon Musk, Andrew Huberman, Ivanka Trump, Sam Altman, Mark Cuban. Friedman's show will likely reach millions of potential voters who are undecided and or people who aren't considering voting for Trump. And, Colin Rugg, who is the owner of, I guess, Trending Politics, he's making the statement, Trump's all in on this stuff. He's talking to everybody. And that's kind of my broader point. Donald Trump's talking to everybody, all by his little self. He got an interview right now out there with Dr. Phil. It's just all over the internet. Talking about, I think they went for an hour and a half, 2 hours, talking about anything that, Dr. Phil wanted to bring up. Now, like I said, you can disagree with Trump's answers. You can agree with Trump's answers. You can think he's full of crap. You can think he's playing 5-dimensional chess. Whatever you want, that's fine. But my point is this. Donald Trump is out there talking to anybody who'll do an interview with him. And by the way, he's not doing it out of a sense of desperation. It's not like, oh my God, no one's covering me. Oh, you have a podcast of 50 people? I'll do an interview with you. He's not doing it out of any kind of a sense of desperation. He's doing it because he's being asked and he's running for president. And like I said, the listener or the viewer can agree with Trump, disagree with Trump, whatever, but Trump's doing interviews. He's talking to people. J.D. Vance is out there talking to people. I got a couple of clips we're going to play in the Nightcap segment. Give you an idea what J.D. Vance is like on the stump if you haven't seen him talk. Now, he was up in Pennsylvania today, and he got real salty with old Kamala. That's going to be real good. So, I mean, I'm not so sure. I'm really not so sure that Dana Bash is going to give Kamala a total softball interview. I'm not totally convinced yet. Now, I'm like you. You might be right. Maybe nothing's going to happen out of this. But I don't see how Dana Bash does this interview and the thought's not going through the back of her head. Man, this is the first interview. I gotta be on my A game here. So we'll see. But anyway, we're going to start this thing at 8:00 tomorrow night. We're going to do an hour of news, commentary, stuff like that. And then 9:00, we'll dip in for this thing. I am very interested to see how this goes. I really am. And where did I find that earlier? Hang on a minute. I want to play this clip. It's getting so bad out there for Kamala. She's getting words of warning from people in the media. Chuck Todd, news personality at NBC, former host of Meet the Press, was on a program today on MSNBC, and he had a very interesting take on where Kamala's at with this whole I want to be interviewed, but only on my terms sort of plan of hers. Now, as always, give me a sound check. Let me know if this is coming through, but do me a favor and give me your take on this.
In your latest column, you write, quote, her campaign has now raised the stakes for her first 1 or 2 sit-down interviews.
Right.
More words and phrases will get scrutinized simply because the campaign and the candidate are behaving as if doing these interviews is about as interesting to them as a visit to the dentist's office. So is she making a mistake by putting her eggs in this one interview?
Well, I just think yes. I think the easiest way to diffuse this is to go everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Spend, doing local interviews, doing a podcast here, she can go to friendly places, she can go to unfriendly places. The idea when you sort of try to be, laser focused like this, I mean, we're all we're going to gravitate to the big event. If there are 6 interviews, we're all overwhelmed with, not one thing, everything gets diluted. So I really think it only sort of reinforces this negative stereotype that she had coming into this race, which is, she hand wrings too much, she's a little, shakes too long. And there's a fine line between being deliberative and being paralyzed by a decision. And the way they've handled this media stuff, I get it. Yeah. It is not as important as we think it is.
Right.
But the way they've handled it, I think, is a bit, it's been a mistake.
Can you
Now, I want to stop right here for 1 second. About 90% of what he said, I agree with. I mean, he's absolutely right. And I cannot believe I'm saying this about a comment that F. Chuck Todd on NBC is making, but I absolutely agree with him. She's making this situation worse for herself the less that she talks to the press. The easiest way for Kamala to diffuse all this, take on all comers. People on the right, people on the left, people down the middle, small-time podcasters, people with 4 million people on YouTube, whatever. Take on all comers. You want to put this to bed? Chuck Todd's absolutely right. You want to stop this criticism of her? Have her start doing interviews. The more she does, and he's also right about something else. The fewer interviews she does, that means every word, every syllable, every bit of body language. I mean, she's going to be scrutinized under a microscope that she cannot even possibly begin to imagine. She's getting it right now. She hasn't even done the interview yet. Everybody's asking the question, where's Kamala? Why is she not talking to the press? Now, here's where I disagree with Chuck Todd. He says, well, it matters a lot to us. I don't think it matters. No. I disagree with you there. Chuck, due respect, I disagree. Look, no one knows who this woman is. Now, you hear me make that statement and you're sitting there going, come on, Brian, that's crazy. She's the vice president of the United States. She's been out there on the world stage for 4 years, here in the United States for 4 years. She's been this and this and this. And everybody knows who she is. No, she don't. How many videos have you guys seen on Twitter or TikTok, Instagram, or other places of not independents, okay, Democrats who, when they're asked, do you know what Kamala Harris's policy position is on fill in the blank, okay, they have no idea. When you ask them, can you name me some of her accomplishments? No idea. Well, can you tell me why you think she ought to be president? Oh, I'm just really excited for Kamala. Now, you can sit there and say, well, that's a product of the kind of voter that the Democrats are breeding, just a bunch of mind. No. I'm not even going to go to that level. That's not my point. My point is this. This woman's running for president and nobody knows what she wants to do. She's trying to be, I'm Kamala Harris and I'm full of joy. It's not going to work. When you have millions upon millions of people in America who are struggling every day under the burden of inflation, and scared whether or not they're going to have a job tomorrow because they know this economy is shaky as hell. Okay. And when you got two different proxy wars going on right now, one of them's in Ukraine. We've pumped about $200 billion into it. And then on top of that, you got the Middle East, which is about ready to go up in flames with one wrong move. Believe me, the average voter wants to know, what are you going to do about all this? So that's where I disagree with Chuck Todd. This is way more important than he realizes. And that interview tomorrow night, I am telling you right now, that thing is going to be sliced and diced, not even by Republicans. Forget the Trump campaign, okay? For people who are actually going to tune in and watch this, or maybe they'll go on Twitter or TikTok or somewhere and they'll watch some, all, or parts of this thing's going to be analyzed. People are going to be looking for answers. Anyway, let's get back to the rest of the clip because he's got a few more things to say.
Think of a time in recent memory that a presidential candidate went 38, 39 days without giving a press conference or sit-down interview.
I'm sure there has been one, but it is in this day and age, it's hard. And I go back to why, there's this allergy to ever doing something that Donald Trump did. Mm-hmm. But the Donald Trump of 2016, not this guy. This version, he hides from mainstream media quite a bit. But the 2016 version
hold on, Chuck. I disagree with that. He sat down with CNN. He's done town halls. He's done interviews on Meet the Press. Yeah. Hello, sir. Good to have you here. I disagree with Chuck Todd on that one. Donald Trump's not hiding from anybody. True. Very true. Anyway, back to F. Chuck.
He did interviews all over the place. Right. Left, right, and center, friendly interviews, adversarial interviews. He'd do 3 or 4 in a day. In some ways, he preferred that than actually campaigning on the trail.
Right.
But what he successfully did is he never made one interview matter. Right. It ends up diluting this. So just the way they've handled this, and I just think they're now just playing into her perceived weakness. Mm-hmm. And any fumble now is going to get overly scrutinized in this interview.
And I want to make one more point about something that Chuck Todd said here. One wrong move. I was thinking about this today as I was driving home tonight. I've made the statement, and this was back when Joe Biden was still running. I said, Joe Biden is a very brittle candidate. Now, what did I mean? What I was getting at the time was that one wrong move, one screw up, or in Joe's case at that moment, one more falling down a set of stairs, one more verbal gaffe, one more or whatever it was that Joe was trying to say. And it would just reinforce the perception that we can't put him back in for a second term. I am really now becoming convinced Kamala is living in a house of political cards. And I mean this. I could be dead wrong about this. But she is just as fragile in one sense as Joe Biden was, but for different reasons. See, Joe's problems were questions of mental fitness for the office, physical ability to do the job, etc. Things that were brought on not necessarily because of his age, but because of things people had seen, speaking performances, etc., that made people wonder, hey, look, I've seen 81-year-old people that can do jobs, but is this 81-year-old really up to it? It's not a question of age. It's a question of the ability to do the job. In her case, it's questions of, okay, what does she want to do? Does she really know what she wants to do? Why is she not telling me what she wants to do? Again, and I could be dead wrong with this idea. Time will prove me right or wrong one way or the other. But I get the feeling she's living in a house of cards. One bad event. Let's say that not in the same way, but let's just say the debate on September the 10th does not go well for her. Okay. For whatever reason, either because she's that bad, Trump's that good, or maybe a combination of the two in some ratio. Okay. Or not even the debate. Let's say there's an external event that comes along, something foreign policy related, or something related to the economy, which is very possible in the next 70 days. Depending on how she responds to that, that could be the puff of air that knocks the whole house of cards down. And again, maybe I'm wrong. I just don't think she is as strong a candidate as people out there are saying she is. Now, don't get me wrong, she could win. She could absolutely win. I'm just not sure that she's as well off as everybody seems to think. And let me get a couple of comments in here. Her advisors may have done well, now that's true. They may have done that calculus, but I think this is a mistake. Hiding her from the American people for the next 70 days, Joe Biden could get away with it. And he did. You could use the excuse of COVID. He's an 80, he was a 70, what was he, 77-year-old man at the time. You know, didn't want to take the risk of him being exposed to COVID. He could still work out of his basement, yada, yada, yada. They don't have COVID this time. She's 20 years. Let's see, she's 59. Joe's 81. She's at least 21 years his junior. Okay. And to the best of all of our knowledge, she's in perfectly good health. Okay. So they can't use COVID as an excuse to keep her away from the press. So why? And like I say, I on a lot of that clip, I think Chuck Todd is absolutely right. Matter of fact, while I'm thinking about it right now, let me drop this in chat for everybody. If y'all want to. Oh, good evening, lovely. Ah, love you, darling. Glad to see you in the house out there from the redwoods of California. Anyway, I dropped that link in chat if you guys want to look at it or stew on it or what have you. But yeah, I don't know, man. I think Chuck Todd's right. The longer and the fewer interviews and the longer this goes on, the worse it feeds the perception. It really does. Oh, by the way, speaking of memes, I've always said that the meme makers are having fun this season. Well, you know, this is someone's idea of what's going to happen tomorrow night. I mean, I'm not saying, but I'm just saying. There you go. Take it for what it's worth. And on top of that, the boys at the Babylon Bee have been up to their tricks again. Just for your consideration. Headline: Strong, capable woman asks man to come with her to do job interview in case they ask any hard questions. Yeah. I'm here all week, folks. Try the veal. Let me see. Let me find something here. Where is it? Did I have it? Come on. I thought I put a rim shot in here. Did I not? Oh, darn it. Thought I did. Anyhow. Yeah. This is that's pretty good. That is really pretty good. So just saying. Let's see. I think Harris is insistent on ABC for the debate, in part because she is close friends with Dana Walden, who oversees ABC News. Could be that. Yeah, a little Henny Youngman. Take my wife, please. And if you know who Henny Youngman is, you're good enough to be friends with me. Zippy over on Rumble with a Rumble rant. Thank you very much. Democrats love digging the graves. Sip. Yeah, you ain't wrong there, brother. You ain't wrong there. Anywho, let's move on to some other pieces of news for the day. This is kind of I was thinking about this afternoon. This is kind of a strange news day. And I say strange in that it's not that there weren't things going on, and it's not that they weren't all important in one form or another. But given the way that 2024 has gone, man, there's been like it feels like almost every stinking day, some big, huge news item drops, And it's like, and when you have one of those days like today, that's not nearly as, momentous as far as either what happens or the number of news items that happen, it kind of makes you go, you're stopping to catch your breath. It's just crazy that way. But we do have a few items in the news, and some of them I think are fairly interesting. And there's going to be quite a few things for the Nightcap section of the show, which I don't always give as much attention to as I should, usually because I'm so long-winded talking about everything else. I wind up giving the Nightcap section the short shrift. But anyway, late this afternoon, some news broke where it related to the U.S. Supreme Court. Headline from thehill.com: The Supreme Court will not instate Biden's new student loan debt plan. Uh-oh. Article by Zach Schoenfeld and Lexi Lannis. We have the following. The Supreme Court on Wednesday discarded the Biden administration's request to temporarily reinstate its new student debt plan that would lower payments for millions of borrowers. The Justice Department's emergency appeal asked the Supreme Court to lift a lower court ruling currently halting Biden's plan as a legal challenge proceeds. The order had no public dissents. It is not a final ruling, and the legality of the plan could ultimately return to the High Court. Quote, the court expects that the Court of Appeals will render its decision with appropriate dispatch, reads one of the two orders declining to take up the cases at this time. For now, it drives a sword in the administration's ability to implement its saving on a valuable education plan. Quote, our administration will continue to aggressively defend the SAVE plan, which has helped over 8 million borrowers access lower monthly payments, including 4.5 million borrowers who have had a $0 payment each month. And we won't stop fighting against Republican elected officials' efforts to raise costs on millions of their own constituents' student loan payments, said White House spokesperson Angelo Hernandez. Wow, that's a mouthful. Woo! Goodness me. Angelo Hernandez. Wow. Say that 10 times fast and watch what happens. Probably start an international incident. The first phase began last October, increasing the amount of income protected from the loan payments to 225% of the federal poverty line and not letting unpaid interest accrue. The second phase, which was set to begin in July, decreases monthly payments from 10% of the borrower's discretionary income to 5%. The plan also shortens the repayment period to 10 years for qualifying borrowers, after which their remaining balance would be forgiven. Roughly 7.5 million borrowers have already signed up for the SAVE plan, and 150,000 individuals have had their debt canceled under the new income-driven repayment plan. Two groups of Republican state attorneys general have challenged the plan, contending Biden does not have the legal authority to implement it, and that it flouts the Supreme Court decision last year, striking down one of the president's earlier student debt programs. Quote, there is a reason the final rule is the government's backup plan for mass loan forgiveness. The government's statutory arguments are even weaker than in Biden v. Nebraska, one group of states wrote in the court filing referring to the earlier case. The other group similarly wrote, quote, this current attempt to unilaterally cancel debt is every bit as unlawful as the first 12-digit effort that this court rejected. Both lawsuits reached the Supreme Court in recent weeks on its emergency docket after conflicting rulings in the lower courts. And on it goes. So, looks like the Supreme Court is going to wind up answering this question, but they're not going to do it anytime soon. So, there you go. My goodness. Let's see. What else? What is this? U.S. Navy told to stand down against the Houthis as it might hurt Iran's feelings? Dear Heart, if you have a link to that, let me see it, because, hang on, well, maybe you've already sent it to me. Give me a second here. Up in Connecticut, do me a favor. And I'm not saying, yep, okay, thank you. See, this is why I love this audience. Not only are you guys smart, you're fast. Faster than your host sometimes, might I add. All right, before we slip into our next story, let us do a real quick commercial since it's the top of the hour. My name is Brian Trippett. I am the Front Porch Conservative. And if you've happened upon this live stream, we got 27 people on the YouTube side. Cool. That's nice. If you've happened upon this live stream, you have found your way to Chattin on the Porch. This is a live stream we do Monday through Thursday night where we get together, kind of hang out, talk about the news of the day, kind of laugh through it all, cry through it all, talk to each other about it, give our opinions. And we love to hear yours too. So if you're not subscribed to my channel on Rumble and YouTube, do me a favor and give me a sub. And by the way, YouTubers, please, please, please double check your subscription. For some strange reason, YouTube seems to be playing games with me, which I don't quite understand why. So please make sure you're still subscribed. Give me a thumbs up, leave a comment in chat during and after the show. I would really appreciate it. And also share the link around. Did I get it? I don't know yet. Let me check. Do-de-de-do-do. Ooh. Yes, I did get it. Hang on. This is getting interesting. Up in Connecticut just sent me something, and I didn't necessarily have this on the agenda for the evening, but you know what? Someone gives me something, we'll take a look at it, because I am all about being interactive. Hang on, let me get this pulled up. Oh my goodness. Folks, I hope you have not had anything caffeinated, and I hope you don't have high blood pressure, because this one just might get your blood going. From the maritimeexecutive.com, we have the following story. U.S. carrier held back in fight with Houthis to avoid angering the Iranians. The hell is this? Who wrote this thing? Don't have an author, but let's see what the story is all about. The U.S. Navy Carrier Strike Group 2 was instructed to limit large-scale counterstrikes against Houthi rebels in order to avoid upsetting the delicate balance of deterrence with Iran, says the CSG's former commander suggested in an interview released on Monday. Rear Admiral Mark Miguez was the commander of the strike group when it made its historic deployment to the Red Sea in November 2023. He served until June 16, which I'm assuming is this, it would be this year, when he was relieved and dispatched to Washington, D.C. to run the Navy's Legislative Affairs Office. The USS Dwight D. Eisenhower was in the thick of the counter-Houthi operation from the start, and at its peak, the carrier was launching fighters to up to 9 events a day. Its pilots put in more than 30,000 flight hours and launched more than 60 air-to-air missiles. The destroyer escorts used up so many missiles that they had to set up a pierside resupply operation in nearby Yanbu, Saudi Arabia. It was all within the crew's training, Miguez told former Navy commander and YouTuber Ward Carroll, except for the unexpected volume of Houthi unmanned aerial vehicles. Quote, just the immense number of UAV interactions that we had, that was something that we did not holistically train to, not on the level that we had to encounter in combat. Just protecting the USS Eisenhower from attack was a significant endeavor. The carrier had at least 2 fighters up and nearby at all times to carry out air defense. If it couldn't have its own fighters in the air, it drew on the resources of the U.S. Air Force, which would dispatch land-based planes to fly an equivalent force protection mission around the carrier. Initially, the Eisenhower had freedom of movement within the operating area, but as time went on and Houthi attacks became more sophisticated, Miguez had to reposition in order to make the carrier a harder target. Quote, for force protection, I had to move the carrier multiple times, he said. Eisenhower's crew got to hit back at the Houthi threat with 7 large coordinated airstrikes, working with the Air Force and its allied partners. We were not definitely degrading their capability. We were definitely degrading their capability, Miguez said, but the task force was not permitted to bring its full might to bear against all targets. Quote, There are definitely strategies that were put forward, but our National Command Authority decided that those I would call more aggressive postures and more aggressive strikes was not something we wanted to challenge, Miguez said. We all know Iranian-backed groups like the Houthis, where that's their emanating from, and so it's the calculus that handled at echelon 0 at National Command Authority with NSA and everybody else. Those are things that I don't dabble in. Going forward, Miguez suggested that diplomacy and economic pressure will be required to restore maritime security in the Red Sea, along with more aggressive military action. Quote, "This is a whole of government approach. I think that is what's going to result in freedom of navigation in that critical strait." Oh, boy. Yeah, I think this is a lot worse than what's being reported. So let me get this straight. We dispatched an aircraft carrier task force to the the Red Sea to battle the Houthis. And then when Miguez and the other commanders in the task force put forward strategies to kind of bring this thing to a halt, NSA and Central Command back in D.C. said, "Nah, we don't want to do that. We're trying to work this thing out with the Iranians." And I'm thinking, now, let me just say, I am not privy to all information. I obviously wasn't there. But to me, there are some people in life, the only thing they're going to understand is force. Oh. Hey, you got a fairly interesting Senate race up there. I'm not sure how the Republicans are going to do, but he's giving Murphy a lot of grief, which I'm very happy to see, by the way. I want to thank up in Connecticut. For bringing this. I'm going to drop this in chat again on both sides. If you're new here, if I find something really interesting, I will drop it in chat and let you guys look at it. Come to your own conclusions. Look, I have my opinions. I don't care to share them with anybody, but yeah, if I find something interesting and I think you guys want to take a look at it, I'll always drop it in chat for y'all. Love you guys. All right, let's get to one of the other stories of the night. Joe Rogan. Apparently, he's in a bit of a tiff. He's in a bit of a tiff with MSNBC, and kind of understandably so. Now, I have heard a little bit about this, so I found an article, and I'm like, all right, let's dive into this thing and see what the heck's going on here. From the Daily Wire, article by Zach Jewell, Joe Rogan blasts MSNBC for editing a clip to make it appear like he praised Kamala Harris. Uh-oh. Now, I don't even need to go any further. Let's put it this way. If what Rogan is claiming is true, I have a message for the Kamala Harris campaign. Y'all done screwed up. Okay? Joe Rogan doesn't have a whole lot of reason to like Kamala Harris anyway. But this is, if you guys are trying to get on his good side and you really did what he's claiming you did, you have really screwed the pooch. Okay? All right, let's get to this story. Podcaster Joe Rogan slammed MSNBC on Tuesday after the leftist media outlet posted a clip of Rogan late last month that made it appear that he praised Vice President Kamala Harris when he was talking about former Democrat Representative Tulsi Gabbard. MSNBC's TikTok account posted a clip taken from the Joe Rogan Experience podcast in late July before adding a disclaimer that read, "We have removed an earlier version of this post that incorrectly implied Joe Rogan was talking more about Vice President Kamala Harris. He was referring to Tulsi Gabbard," the New York Post reported. MSNBC's clip of Rogan has since been deleted. Now, all right, let's just see what this clip is. Hang on one second. Let's see what this is.
She's going to win. No, she's not. She can win. she is a strong woman. She is a person who served overseas twice. She in a medical unit. She was a congresswoman for 8 years.
Yeah.
She is a person of color. She's everything you want. She's going to win.
No, she's not.
She can win. They just want no Trump, no matter what.
Okay,
She's going to win.
Now that's the clip. Okay. And here at the bottom, and you may have, I'll step out of this and let you guys see it. At the bottom of this, and I know it's kind of hard to read, but I'll do this. MSNBC, Joe Rogan predicts a Kamala Harris victory in November, arguing that voters, Okay, if that's what they did, and then they had to go back and explain, no, he was talking more about Tulsi Gabbard. Okay, that's a problem. That's a big problem. Anyway, let's go a little further with this article. The MSNBC clip led to more fake headlines suggesting Rogan was suing the cable television network after it falsely reported that he applauded Harris. Rogan told his guest Andrew Huberman on Tuesday that the clip and the resulting false headlines, quote, have gotten so popular that his stepfather called him about a potential lawsuit. Quote, I'm not suing MSNBC, Rogan clarified on his podcast, but this is what MSNBC did. They took a clip of me talking about Tulsi Gabbard and they edited it up and made it look like I was saying great things about Kamala Harris. They just deceptively edited the things that I was saying, took it completely out of context, Rogan added. First of all, I was talking about Tulsi Gabbard, and then I was talking about the media behind Kamala Harris. All this surge and all these people just deciding that she's good, she could win, and they put those two things together and made it all seem like I was praising Kamala Harris. Rogan said the MSNBC clip was a ridiculous interpretation because he was talking about Gabbard's military service. And you know what? I'm not surprised MSNBC did this. But, okay. To the average voter, if they don't know anything about Kamala's background, okay, I could see where they might infer that, okay, Kamala served overseas in 2 tours. Well, no, she didn't. But anyway, back to the story. Quote, that's not something Kamala Harris did. That's something Tulsi Gabbard did, Joe Rogan added. I was just saying things about her, and they put it there as a clip of me praising Kamala Harris. They don't even care about the truth. They just want a narrative to get out there amongst enough people. Rogan was the subject of more false reports earlier this month that he claimed he was endorsing Robert F. Kennedy Jr. for president. Reports of Rogan endorsing Kennedy swirled after the podcaster praised the independent candidate. Rogan said Kennedy is different from politicians on the right and the left who gaslit, manipulate, and promote narratives. Quote, the only one who's not doing that is Robert F. Kennedy Jr. I am a fan. He's the only one that makes sense to me. He doesn't attack people. He attacks actions and ideas. He's much more reasonable and intelligent. Rogan later posted on X, or Twitter, quote, for the record, this isn't an endorsement. This is me saying that I like RFK Jr. as a person, and I really appreciate the way he discusses things with civility and intelligence. I think we could use more of that in this world. I also think Trump raising his fist and saying fight after getting shot is one of the most American effing things of all time, end of quote. The popular podcaster has not made an endorsement into the 2024 election, and he even told his followers that he's not the guy to get political information from. Well, see, I don't know. Do I think Joe Rogan should? Absolutely. Would Trump probably do it if he was invited? Probably so. But I don't know. I don't know if it's going to happen or not. I have no idea. I think it should. To me, that would be an extraordinary opportunity for an amazing conversation. I really do think so. How would it turn out? No idea. But I think it would be really, really interesting. And by the way, folks, apparently the Harris campaign is not just doing this to Rogan. Wait a minute. I need to hide that backstage. I'm not ready to tease that yet. I couldn't find, if somebody can find this real fast and you can send it to me, that'd be great. But if not, don't worry about it. Tucker Carlson. Apparently, and hang on a minute. I've got to try and find the article that leads up to this. if I can. Give me 1 second, folks. There is. Oh, yes. Here it is. Okay. There is a story that's out there right now that involves the Kamala Harris campaign and Tucker Carlson. Now, if you guys haven't heard about this, let me see. And if I'm not telling this right, y'all set me straight. Okay. And I got to put my glasses on because this is going to be a little bit hard for me to read because I'm reading very small print and it's on a computer screen. So I'm going to do my best with this. Apparently, somebody out there, at least as the story goes, used AI to create a letter supposedly written to Vice President Harris regarding gun control legislation. Well, this is what I'm hearing. I am trying to run this down. Okay. I'm trying to run this down, but supposedly there's a letter out there that is claimed to be from Tucker Carlson to Kamala Harris having to do with gun legislation. Okay. WWG1 says, Trump wrote me a letter much like this. Turns out I wrote it myself. Well, there you go. Let me pop this up here and I'll get myself out of the screen. And now this is on Kamala's Twitter page. Tucker, thank you for writing to me. While we may not agree on every issue, we both know that every person in our nation should have freedom to live safe from gun violence. The majority of Americans stand with us in support of common sense gun safety legislation. Now, guys, I got to ask you. Now, let me just say this. Is it possible Tucker Carlson wrote this? Okay, maybe. Do I really think he did? I think I've got the response. Hang on to it. But let me set this up with reading the letter, at least purportedly. Purportedly from Tucker. So let me read this. Vice President Harris, one of the absolute favorite things in America is how people of different backgrounds and beliefs have the freedom to communicate with each other. We are blessed to live in a country where the greater currency in the face exchanging of ideas. In America, we are all blessed with the ability to come together on common ground. In the spirit of establishing common ground, even though I am fatally or fiercely conservative and we may have our disagreements, I am writing to extend my gratitude for your and President Biden's efforts to establish common sense gun safety laws. Owning firearm in America's constitutional right. Like all things, there needs to be responsible legislation like age restriction. Let's see what else here. Background checks, mental health screenings. Thank you for leading the White House Office of Gun Violence Prevention and for your and President Biden's push for common sense gun safety laws. I look forward to seeing what the Biden-Harris administration accomplishes in this regard. And with the love and God bless Tucker. Okay. Now, supposedly, that's the letter. Now, again, could he have written it? Yeah, he could have written it. However, Tucker has responded. And it's rather a tongue-in-cheek response, as I understand it. Here we go. Tucker posted this on his Twitter page that apparently the vice president wrote back to him. Dear Tucker, I can't believe I'm writing you this letter, but here goes. Honestly, I never thought we had all that much in common. Since college, I consider myself moderately progressive in the sense that I don't believe in law enforcement, national borders, or the right of American citizens to exercise fundamental human autonomy. You seemed like you were coming from a totally different place. I thought I disagreed with you on everything. Boy, was I wrong. The other night, I was looking at the internet and saw your conversation with Bobby Kennedy Jr. There wasn't a word I disagreed with, not one. I turned to Montel and I said, I was very wrong about this man. So very wrong. The way he talks, he's so bold and wise and strong. He's immovable, like a towering oak tree in a windstorm. He sways gently but never breaks. His trunk is so broad and firm and rooted to the earth, I can't imagine the size of his root ball. I was so impressed. So thank you. You show me something about myself and about the world. I will never forget it until we meet. Kisses, 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 Kamala. That's great. And that's probably going to teach somebody in the Harris campaign a lesson. Don't you ever try that crap with me again. Yes, indeed. Yeah, I know. Well, and see, and this to me goes to a broader point, Gypsy. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying she can't win. But my question is this. If she's so successful right now, and she's so on top of the world, and she's so everything else, why is her campaign resorting to this crap? Why is she refusing to do interviews? Why is she doing anything that she's doing? If she is as powerful and has all this momentum and everything else, why? Why are you doing this? Well, I mean, but seriously, even the 25-year-old interns ought to know better to do something like this. Well, no, I was 25 once. I did a lot of stupid things too. But, that's just dumb. Just genuinely dumb. Oh, goodness. Just absolutely amazing. Oh, by the way. Speaking of interviews, I forgot to mention this earlier, but I've got this up here. The Dr. Phil interview that Donald Trump has recently done, his second interview with Dr. Phil, by the way. Apparently, Dr. Phil made the same offer to Kamala Harris. Sit down for an interview. Let's talk. No rules, wide open, let's have at it. Well, apparently, the word is she's not having any of it. Kamala Harris has rejected Dr. Phil's invitation for a sit-down interview. Now here's the consequences. The majority of Dr. Phil's viewers are 25 to 54-year-old suburban women. Trump has done 2 interviews with Dr. Phil. It's understandable why Kamala is afraid to be interviewed by us. Okay, I'm going to forget that last line. But you get the point. And this just feeds into what Chuck Todd was talking about. She's feeding the perception. She really is. I mean, even if it's not true that she's not wanting to do interviews, the longer she goes and she doesn't do this, the worse it's going to get. Yeah. They believe they rule the world and they don't have to answer to anybody. And nobody's ever told them no. Oh, you're talking about the 25-year-olds. Yeah, that's true too. Very true, by the way. All right, let's see. What else have we got going on? Tell you what, let me do a real quick commercial since we're at the bottom of the hour. And then we'll go on to some Nightcap stuff. My name is, first of all, for all those folks out on YouTube that are joining us tonight, and thank you guys so much for being here, and for everybody over on Rumble too. My name is Brian Tripp, and I'm the Front Porch Conservative. If you've come across this live stream, this is what we call Chattin on the Porch. We get together, we talk about the news, we share our views. I have viewers that will drop me something, say, hey, did you see this? And I'll pop it up on screen, we'll talk about it. We're on Rumble, we're on Twitter, we're on YouTube not every Monday through Thursday, 7:30 Eastern. And we also do a show on the weekend. Now, this weekend, we're going to do a show at 6 o'clock in the evening called the Saturday Night Supper Club. And we get together, we hang out, we try and laugh through it all. We try to encourage each other because, I ain't going to lie, these days are kind of tough to get through. So that's part of why we do this. If this is the sort of thing that interests you and you want to be a part of our community, please do me a favor, subscribe on YouTube and Rumble. I would really love to have your support. Also, give a thumbs up, share the link around, leave a comment in chat, all that good stuff. So anyway, with that, let's shift gears and go into some Nightcap news. Apparently, folks, things are getting pretty salty out there on the campaign trail. I don't know if you guys saw this. Did you guys hear about JD Vance today? Woo! Man, things are definitely getting salty out there. He was up in Pennsylvania and he had not too kind of words to say about Miss Kamala Harris. And this clip runs about 42 seconds. I think it's worth hearing. Check this out.
But to have those 13 Americans lose their lives and not fire a single person is disgraceful. Kamala Harris is disgraceful. We're going to talk about a story out of those 13 brave, innocent Americans who lost their lives. It's that Kamala Harris is so asleep at the wheel that she won't even do an investigation into what happened. And she wants to yell at Donald Trump because he showed up. She can go to hell.
Ooh. Yeah, like I say, things are getting salty out there. Not only did he tell her where to go, he told her why she could do it. So now the whole appearance was not quite all about salt. There were some very funny moments, by the way, and there's one of them I've got here that's really cute. This is, I think JD Vance has got a pretty good sense of humor, and I think he proved it with this. So, folks, do me a favor. Check this out, and I hope you get a chuckle out of it.
Ma'am, I don't need a teleprompter. I've actually got thoughts in my head, unlike Kamala Harris.
Yeah, I should have set that up better. So JD Vance is speaking, and apparently some individual out in the crowd yells, "Hey, where's your teleprompter at?" And he says, "I don't need a teleprompter. I've got thoughts in my head, unlike Kamala Harris." That's cute. That was really cute. And speaking of salty, Megyn Kelly, I'll tell you what, she gets news that she's the #1 podcaster out there, and she's got all these people on YouTube and wherever all else she's at. Man, I'm thinking starting to go to her head. She's getting into it with CNN's Caitlin Collins. I don't know if you guys have seen this or not. Let me see if I can find. I've got a story here from the New York Post, and this looks fairly salty. Let me get this pulled up for you guys. From the New York Post, Megyn Kelly slams CNN's Caitlin Collins as a cold-hearted bitch who is boring with no personality. Ouch! Ew! Catfight! Oh, geez. This is about to get nasty. Article by Ariel Zilber. We have the following. Megyn Kelly lashed out at CNN primetime anchor Caitlin Collins as a cold-hearted bitch who should smile more often because she is boring with no personality. The podcaster lambasted Collins for defending her network as fair and one where both sides can watch during an appearance on last weekend's episode of HBO's Real Time with Bill Maher. Quote, I will submit to the record, her biggest sin is not that she is biased, though she is, it's that she's boring. She's extremely boring with no personality, the host of the Megyn Kelly Show on SiriusXM said Tuesday. I have a pro tip for her. Smile. Try smiling. Try not to be in your delivery like such a cold-hearted bitch all the time because it gives people nothing to bond to. Kelly, the former Fox News and NBC anchor, also mocked the notion that Collins was a network star. Going a little further into the article, quote, I'm sorry, but she's only a star with the leftist, Kelly said of Collins, who was handed the anchor chair for, quote, The Source after being part of CNN's disastrous morning show with Don Lemon and Poppy Harlow. Kelly also took issue with Collins' reference to her Alabama roots during her interview with Maurer, in which she said, "I feel like I can speak with an authority on this. I'm from Alabama. I'm from a very red state. I have a very conservative family, a lot of them who are Trump voters. They watch my show every night, and they know they can trust me. We call bullshit on every side," Collins told Maurer on Friday. Megyn Kelly dismissed the notion that her Alabama roots made her a fair and balanced reporter. Quote, Kelly went on to note that her YouTube channel, which streams her Sirius XM show, recently reached the 1 billion views milestone. Wow. I didn't realize it got good on you, Megyn. Good on you, girl. Kelly's YouTube channel also boasts more than 2.3 million subscribers. In July, it had 116.8 million views, more than the official channels for NBC News, 78 million, CBS News, 83 million, Sky News, 87 million, of the Murdoch clan. Take that, Rupert. The BBC News, 72 million, and CNBC, 17 million. Quote, "That is why alternative media have done so well, because people are sick of all this shit," Kelly said, referring to CNN's bias. "They can't stand being force-fed this nonsense by these mainstream media outlets." And I tell you what, she's absolutely right. Absolutely. Yeah. Okay. I'm probably going to get myself in trouble here, but I'm going to say something, okay? I'm not going to go so far as to say that Caitlin Collins is a cold-blooded bitch or cold-hearted bitch. But I don't think I have ever seen a woman. I don't think I've ever seen a woman who has such a sinister look to her. I don't know if it's the color of her hair, the shape or the framing of her face, the gleam, what it is about her, but I swear that woman just gives off the most sinister looking vibe. If she smiled, I honestly think I'd be scared. I'm serious. I am serious about this. Now, would I be afraid of her? Not necessarily. But if I weren't who I am, I'd get scared. Because if that woman smiles, that means she's invented something in her head to try to kill me. I'm not kidding about this. Oh, y'all don't? Good. Give her to Mississippi, or give her to Arkansas. Let Arkansas deal with her. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. I'm serious. I mean, look, maybe Megyn Kelly's being a little bit catty here. Okay. A little bit. Let's just be fair about this. She's being a little bit catty, but then again, she's not really wrong. Have you ever seen, and I'm serious about this question, have you ever seen Caitlin Collins smile on air? And I don't mean when she's boiling puppies. I mean, have you ever seen her smile? Really? I haven't. I'm serious. I don't think I can remember a time I've ever seen that woman smile. Now, not that I watch CNN that much, but even when I have, there's nothing about this woman that exudes joy and happiness. Well, she's a professional reporter. She's not supposed to exude joy. Okay, I can respect that. But even then, does she not ever smile? Does she not ever, let her guard down, act like put her hair up in a ponytail, put on a ball cap and a sweatshirt and a pair of blue jeans and a pair of, Converse Chuck sneakers? I could never see her doing that. Never. WWG1 says she's just like Gretchen Whitmer. Yeah, you got that right. Got that right. TBA says she is a man. Caitlin Collins is not a man. Shoulders are too broad for a woman's physique, and the jawline's too. Caitlin Collins is not a man. Good grief. Okay, maybe you're onto something here. I'm just saying. Her brain chip is not programmed for smiling. You never know. You never know. Oh, goodness. Oh, what else is going on in the world right now? Heavens to Murgatroyd. What else was I looking at earlier? What else was I looking at? Got a couple of more stories. Oh. Did you guys happen to see Kamala Harris's appearance with Tim Walz in Georgia today? Apparently, she was speaking with a group of high schoolers, and I have not heard this clip. I've seen it, but I haven't heard it prior to this. And apparently, it did not come across. Now, keep in mind, Kamala's talking to a group of high school students in Georgia. Okay, with that, check this out.
Our country is counting on you. All of you. You are leaders. By the very fact that you all are here in this room, doing what you do at this incredible school, doing it as one big team, understanding all of the different parts that fit together to create a team.
Ooh. TBA says, are those students 5-year-old? Are those high school students 5 years old? Oh, man. Holy crap, she's condescending. Yeah. Yeah, man. Did you catch all that? Yeah, classic Mamala. Classic with this woman. Apparently, she and Walz are going to be doing a bus tour through Georgia over the next couple of 3 days. This should be really interesting. That's all I'm saying. Really interesting. Oh, by the way, you know how everybody in the mainstream media was coming out and saying, well, she's going to come out of this convention with a big old bounce, right? The wheels on the bus go round and round, round and round, round and round. The wheels on the bus go round and round all the doo-dah day. WWG1 says, dead cat bounce. Now, brother, you may be on to something here. I got a story from Breitbart from John Nolte. More polls show no post-convention bounce for Kamala, her awful presidential campaign. Article written by the inestimable John Nolte at Breitbart. Sitting Vice President Kamala Harris got no bounce whatsoever coming out of her disastrous convention last week. Last month, between July 19 and July 22nd, Yahoo polled 1,178 1,178, excuse me. Yeah, I did say that right the first time. Jeez, I am tired. 1,178 registered voters and found the race tied between former President Donald Trump and Cackly McNeverborder Czar, 46 to 46%. The latest YouGov poll shows Harris actually lost a point against Trump after her convention. Please note the dates of the Yahoo poll. His fraudulency had dropped out of the race in the middle of the poll, July 21st. On Tuesday, the same pollster released a poll of 1,194 registered voters taken between August 22nd and August 26th. 5 of those days were post-DNC convention, and found Harris only up by a single point. Backed by billions and billions of free corporate media propaganda, all of Hollywood and all of social media, Harris has enjoyed the greatest launch of any presidential candidate in history. The media have not even pressured her to sit down to do an interview for the job. In addition to all that invaluable media cheerleading, Harris staged a 4-day infomercial known as the Presidential Convention that ended with media gerbils like CNN's Jake Tapper sacrificing his self-respect to publicly dry hump her speech. Wow, John. Woo! Have mercy. My point is, Kamala had it as good as it's ever going to get, and she had it good for more than 6 weeks, and the polls have not budged. He's got a vow. Now, let me do something real quick here. And he's got a point. Now, granted, at this stage, let me just be fair about this. At this stage, there are only 2 national presidential polls that have dropped. Okay. One of them is from YouGov. Let me find it here real fast. Hang on. Well, there we go. Okay, there's some stuff that's dropped tonight, which I'm not necessarily. See, Fox is about to screw up royally on this. I'll save that for tomorrow night. Okay, let me enlarge this a little bit. I'll show you the Fox stuff here in a minute, and I'll tell you why I think they're screwing up. YouGov dropped a poll today. 2-point lead for Harris. Okay. Yahoo News dropped one yesterday. 1-point lead for Harris. Now, let me respectfully point out something. Okay. The last time Yahoo News, let me find it here. Was it Yahoo that hadn't run a poll yet? Okay, let's do this apples to apples. That'd be better. There we go. Yeah, here it is. The last time YouGov ran a poll was here we go. It was last week. She was up by 3. She's now only up by 2. Pop this up on stage. There we go. I'll even make it bigger if I can. There we go. Oop, that's too big. There we go. Yeah, here's YouGov's poll that just dropped today. Harris with a 2-point lead. When they ran it last week, she had 3. She's losing steam. Now, I said that Fox just dropped something, and I'll show it to you for the sake of being fair. They just dropped, these are for tomorrow, and these are supposedly battleground state polls. Supposedly, Harris has a 1-point lead out in Arizona. Supposedly, she's got a 2-point lead in Georgia. Supposedly, she's got a 2-point lead in Nevada. And Trump only has a 1-point lead in North Carolina. I ain't buying that. I ain't buying that at all. Not in North Carolina. And I'm not really buying it in the other states. That doesn't make any sense. Now, there's partially my own instinct that's telling me it doesn't make any sense. And then I got something else. Let me find it real fast for you guys, just to kind of give perspective. Yeah. This is from Rich Barris. Bottom line, this is talking about the Fox poll, is that they don't match with their own national poll numbers. There is a significant disparity between national and state poll numbers in several polls. To put nicely, they both cannot exist in the same election. And I'm going to drop this little thing from Rasmussen in chat if you guys want to look at it. TBA says, I'm calling BS on all these polls. They're full. Yeah, I'm not buying it. I'm not saying she can't win. I'm just not buying it. Not yet. Anywho, so yeah, you're going to see that tomorrow if you haven't seen it already about this new Fox poll in the battleground states. So just be advised. Here it comes. However, Barris does bring up another point. There is polling in the pipeline which makes the Fox poll look like it caught the tail end of Harris's momentum. We'll see. We shall see. Oh, and by the way, one more thought about this new, let's see, what is this? Was like, yeah, exactly. Exactly. Matter of fact, Dear, you bring up a really good point. A really good point. Let me find it here real fast. Because there's one thing I love about the way. Yeah, here it is. There's one thing I love about the way that Real Clear Politics does the way they lay out their polling. I want you guys to take a look at something, because up in Connecticut brings up a really good point. On this day in history, August 28th, 2020, in the Real Clear Politics average of polls, Biden was up by 7. Clinton was up by 6. She's only up by 1.7. Kamala's got a big problem. And again, we haven't even got to the heart of this thing yet. We're like less than 70 days to go. And don't get me wrong, there's a lot's got to happen between then and now. But if she's only nationally ahead of Trump by 1.5 points, that's not going to get it done in the Electoral College. It just won't. And if you don't believe me, I got one more thing for you tonight. And you guys are going to want to see this. Let me find this real fast. Yep, here it is. Here it is. It runs longer than I planned, but give me 1 second here, folks. I want to see if I can find this real fast.
Whole story, and there's some new data out and coming.
Yeah, hang on a minute. Yeah, I can do this. I think I can catch most of this right where I need to on the front end of this clip. Mark Halperin of Newsmax was doing his live stream, and he had the following to say, and I thought this was very telling. Check this out.
So this election right now, people say will be close, and it might be, but I want you to consider a narrative here, which is not implausible. As I always say, I'm not predicting this or rooting for it, but this is not an implausible story. And there's some new data out and coming that suggests that this story could be the story. If you go back a couple months or weeks and ask yourself, how is it that Kamala Harris became the Democratic nominee so easily? Really the easiest walk to a major party nomination in modern times. She basically made 100 phone calls and she was the nominee. How did that happen? It's particularly curious because if you'd gone back a few weeks before that, many of the people who played a big role in anointing her as the nominee would have said, well, if we get rid of Joe Biden, we can't possibly let Kamala Harris be the nominee because she can't beat Donald Trump. She can't win a general election. And yet those people and others stood aside, at least publicly, and made her the nominee. Now, why did that seem like a bad choice for some? Besides the fact of her history of, as vice president and as a presidential candidate, not being particularly good at managing her staff, not being particularly good under pressure, not being particularly good at taking tough positions and sticking with them, not being particularly good at explaining herself. Why did she become the nominee? No one's really reported it. I think I have in my head, in my reporter's notebook, as good an understanding as any journalist does. But there's a lot to that story. And if you think about why she was why she may not have been the best choice, what can we say about that? Well, we can say, why would she be a good choice, a better choice than Joe Biden? We can say because she was not an elderly man with clear signs of loss of acuity. But what can we also say about her? We can say all the things I said about her record on the national stage. We can also say that she's part of the Biden-Harris administration. Of all the people they could have chosen, with the exception maybe of Pete Buttigieg, or all the people who could have emerged as the nominee, she's the only one who carries the burden of the Biden-Harris record, which on many scores is not very popular with the American people. At the time she emerged as the de facto nominee, within hours, many people in Trump world were celebrating, and they said anybody else would be a new choice, a clear break from the record. She's the only one who wouldn't be, and they claimed at the time to be pleased with that. Clearly, she's going to pick up voters who are unhappy with Joe Biden because of his acuity or his age or just the sameness.
I'm going to stop it right there because, bless your hearts, I don't want to make you go through the whole thing. But there's a line in here that I think needs to be said. And let me read this for y'all's benefit. Quote, I'm warning those of you who want Trump to lose that by the middle of next month, there is a real possibility, based on what I've seen in terms of public and private data, that Kamala Harris could be where Joe Biden was, says Mark Halperin. Quote, only one electoral college path and not a particularly strong one to hold up. I said earlier, there's a distinct chance she's living on a house of cards. One wrong move, one puff of air blown the wrong way, and she got problems. And I'm not saying it's going to be the debate. I am not, let me be clear about this. I am not hanging everything on Trump going into that debate and the same result come out of it the way it came out against Joe Biden. Okay. I'm just saying it might be the debate. It might be a foreign policy crisis. It might be an economic crisis. It might be any number of things. I'm just saying it wouldn't take much. One event, just one thing, and that whole house of cards that she's tried to build could just come absolutely tumbling down. Just saying. Okay, tell you what, let's bring this train into the station. And we'll go ahead and wrap it up for the night. I want to thank you guys for being here for Chatting on the Porch. For those of you who are out there who maybe have never stopped here before, thank you so much for being here tonight. And for our regulars, I love all you guys. You guys are fantastic. We're going to be back tomorrow night, 8 p.m. 8 p.m. Eastern. We're going to do an abbreviated session of Chattin'. And then at 9 o'clock, we're going to go straight into watching this interview that Kamala Harris and Tim Walz are going to give on CNN. Okay, so 8 p.m. tomorrow night. Also, be advised, Saturday night, 6 p.m. Eastern, we will do the Saturday Night Supper Club. So mark those on your calendars. Anyway, love you guys. You guys are absolutely fantastic. I will see you tomorrow night, 8 p.m. Eastern. And remember the words of that great American philosopher, Tom T. Hall, when he said, it's faster horses, younger lovers, older whiskey, more money. Love you guys. We'll see you tomorrow night at 8.